Hello, everyone. Tai Kimes here, your Missouri Blue Star Families Chapter Director. I am so excited to be talking to you Tuesday. I've got my tea going on. I figured out how to make a London fog, so I'm really excited as I'm drinking a London fog today. Our topic of discussion for tea is diversity. So I'm really excited to bring on and have our returning communi-tea panel. We have Shawn Moore and Natasha Swayze from Caregivers on the Homefront. Welcome, ladies.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, yeah. What are you drinking in your cup? What do you have?
I have creamer with a little bit of coffee.
That's good.
Good morning. I have my coffee.
Oh, yeah. See, we need a caffeine. I see I'm drinking my morning tea, so I've got a little bit of caffeine in it as well. So, which means we're wide awoke. So I'm glad because we're going to dive into this topic. I want to introduce our guests for this morning. Our first guest is Dr. Elizabeth Washington. She is the Director of Special Services and the School Psychological Examiner with the Waynesville R6 School District here in Missouri in the Fort Leonard Wood area. And she also leads our diversity board. So welcome, Dr. Washington.
Hi, welcome, and I've got my caffeine as well.
Oh yeah, we all got to be a little caffeinated, especially you need all that extra energy with working with all the kids and dealing with all that because they seem to have all of the energy.
They're always energized. So yes, I'm not as young as them. So yes, I need my caffeine.
Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning, and we also have Adriene Engstrom. Adriene is we have a new program with Blue Star Families, and those of you might not know about it, but it is our racial equity and inclusion program, and that's not really a program. Help me out, Adriene. It is the REA
initiative. I would call it an initiative.
There we go. Thank you. It's our new initiative. And you are in the Craig Newmark, New York Tri-State chapter. So I'm so excited to have you on. You're working with Allison. You guys are like rocking it out there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So
we both have a love of theater, so it works really well.
And Allison, for those of you that don't know, if you have kids, you basically want to make sure that you're paying attention to the museums that's coming up because we're going to do the virtual museums again like we did last year. Allison did a phenomenal job with that, very engaging with all of the kids. So make sure that you're looking out for that because that's coming back up. And Allison is going to be leading some of those again. So definitely that theater really kind of comes out. And she sings. So she's got a beautiful voice. But we're here to talk to you and learn more about you. So welcome, welcome. Of course, today our topic is diversity. And so my first question really is, what does diversity mean to you?
Well, I'll chime in. When I think of diversity first, I think of a variety, multiple types of something represented. I like analogies. So, I have fish. So is your fish tank all one single breed of orange platies, or do you have a variety of species that make up your schools, guppies, mollies, and so on? We all love to look into a fish tank and see a variety of types of colors all swimming and living together harmoniously. And that's what we think of when we think of diversity.
What about for you, Dr. Washington?
Yeah, very similar. I mean, to me, diversity, I live and breathe diversity. I mean, it's really the practice or quality of including or involving everyone from a range of backgrounds or genders or, all of us, coming together and working together. And that's really, as you said before, with our school district, that's really the focus of our school district. Every student feeling like they belong and have a seat at the table and their voice can be heard.
And that's really important. And you lead the diversity board within the school district. Can you tell us how that came about?
Sure. So we were really looking at the needs of our district. We're one of the most diverse school districts right here in mid-Missouri. We are blessed to be 70% military impacted with Fort Leonard Wood. So we saw a need to make sure that we're really focusing on diversity. And just because we're a diverse school population doesn't mean that everyone's, has the training or the background or the understanding. So we saw a need to have a diversity board at the district level. And then from that now, each building has a building level diversity team where we have initiatives and goals that we work on.
And that's really good. And I like how you mentioned that, it's important that because everyone doesn't have that background. And as we kind of talked before we went on camera today, that it's just important to kind of have the conversation about diversity. So the fact that there is a diversity board really kind of speaks to the, the inclusion aspect and the goals of the district here. So I'm happy, to kind of have my kids be a part of this school district. Now, Adrienne, so of course we're talking about the racial equity and inclusion. It's totally new here within Blue Star Families. So can you talk about what is that? What is it to you? What can you tell our members about it, since many of them might not even know that this is new within Blue Star Families?
Absolutely. And it is new. REI ultimately achieve a more inclusive environment for our military families and communities and military communities. It's a 5-pillar cross-sector collective action effort to improve the service experiences of military families of color. BSF recognized the need both internally and externally to make sure that the conversations at the table that we mentioned earlier don't fade away, as they often do after, the media hype subsides. And so these lines of sight include research and advocacy, leadership, collaboration, training, which is what I fall directly under, and community impact. And so we're really hoping to create a long-lasting, deep-rooted initiative that will continue to evolve and continue to help shape our communities.
And it's really important. And I, for me, it's important because growing up military, and Dr. Washington, you talked about it too. We have there's so many different cultures. There's so many different backgrounds, and it's just so important. But I wonder, why do you think it's so important that communities, they present a welcoming and inclusive culture, specifically for our military families? Either one of you can take that. Dr. Washington, Adrienne.
Well, we know from last year's Blue Star Families Lifestyle Survey that many families, particularly active duty families who responded over 40%, find it difficult to feel at home in their new communities. And so compound that with a perceived lack of diversity and inclusion, when they land in these areas, and you're looking at a likelihood for lasting discomfort for this family. And we know that translates to, that ill at ease state will ultimately become negativity in the home and further issues, leading to, the influence on that active duty member. And that ultimately affects their level of readiness. Right. And so if we don't weigh inclusion and diversity at the top, it's going to have long-term detrimental effects on our active duty soldiers.
Absolutely. And now, Dr. Washington, you've probably seen this kind of firsthand too, the changes, especially, because it impacts the entire family, like Adrienne mentioned, it impacts everybody. So can you speak to some of the changes and the shifts that you have seen since the diversity board within the school district has been created?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we had done a lot of talk about diversity, but it's time to we put some things in action and have, action steps and make it a priority. School districts have a comprehensive school improvement plan, and diversity is right there on ours. And many districts don't have that, but we do. And I've worked with Tai, even just welcoming new families. And we worked on every building in the district. We worked on what we called signs of belonging, where we send welcome messages and we put them out throughout the community and businesses of, welcome, we welcome everyone. We're excited to have you. Just that initial driving into town, feeling like they're welcomed. Some of the action steps that we've actually taken, we've partnered with Missouri State University. It's out of Springfield, Missouri, and they actually have a diversity and inclusion office, and their assistant vice president has partnered with us, and he started with our whole administration team. We felt like it was important that principals had training in diversity and inclusion, and then that way they can go back to the buildings and train the teachers, and then the teachers feel trained to work with the students. Another initiative we've done is with our curriculum, we've embedded diversity and inclusion lessons for all of our students. So every quarter, they're talking about different topics, whether it's racial diversity or gender diversity, and feeling very comfortable having those conversations and sharing about their differences. We also did that with our staff, our teachers, our teacher aides, our bus drivers, our custodians. We did trainings with them and really talked about, the terminology and working with people who look different from them, and what our implicit biases, and how can we make sure we have anti-racist teaching in our classrooms. I'm really excited. We just signed a 2-year program, and we're actually going to be the pilot district for this in the United States, where we're doing a diversity academy of inclusion and belonging with Missouri State University, and it's a 2-day training in June for all of our administrators, and it's a 2-year program where then monthly we will work with the buildings, also bring in parents and share with them, why is diversity and inclusion important for our district, and here's some of the things we're doing in the classrooms, so we can make sure that we work in collaboration with community and parents. So I'm really excited about that.
I think it's great, and I'm so glad that you mentioned, the hashtag you belong, banners, or you belong BSF, and you guys are going to start seeing those coming soon, especially through our Blue Star Welcome Week that we have coming up in September. But it is so important, and I've seen those signs, and I can tell you, just you can see the passion, you can see what had went into creating this, and the kids' creativity. My daughter was born with hearing loss, and as a parent of a child with a disability with her hearing loss, it's hard because a lot of people don't see it right away, right? And so it's just a matter of seeing on the signs, and they had, there were children in wheelchairs, and they had talked about the hearing loss as well on some of those signs. And I just think it's very important to show that a community is welcoming and a community is open for that. So I'm so glad that our community leaders and you guys, and I didn't know about that program that's coming up. So kudos, Waynesville R6 School District, go Tigers. I'm super excited for this program, and also to see the effort, the results of that. That's really going to strengthen our community. So my next question, I guess it's more for Adriene. Adriene, so what would you say, or how can our community leaders and civilian neighbors and even military members see diversity as more than, because sometimes diversity, it's a word we use all the time. It's one of those hot buttons or hot topics. And it's almost kind of like just a buzzword. Mm-hmm. How do we make it more than that? Because it's still very important.
Well, I think that it's important in terms of the usage of the word, relating it to something that people feel every single day. So, the need for diversity translates far beyond your community, right? We seek diversity in the restaurant offerings in our city. We demand a diverse selection of episodes from our cable networks. So it's a societal need that never goes away. And it's what makes us feel complete, fulfilled on a daily basis. So again, analogy, if you ate the same plate of spaghetti every single day, pretty quickly you would start to feel like something was missing in your life. Mm-hmm. Especially if one house over, one community over, they're eating something different more often. So why not strive to be more fulfilled especially if you can make that happen. And this is the same for our communities. You know, a diverse pool of individuals will provide insight, wisdom, and the opportunity to experience and see something other than spaghetti on your plate. You know.
I love that analogy. I love that analogy. So, you know, and speaking of like families, and because you kind of brought it to the home. So what is something that you love about your own family culture?
Oh gosh, if I had to explain my family as a food, we would be, you know, like sushi, watermelon, a grilled steak. We would be everything in one bowl. I'm just so fortunate that I come from an immensely blended family, Native American, African, as well as Irish, just on my side. It makes tracing lineage a little difficult,
Yeah.
but it means that I find connections and pride in being so diverse myself. You know, my children also have that opportunity. Because we can explore the history of their heritage. You know, for example, their father's side, both sides of his lineage are immigrants, his grandparents. One set came from Sweden and the other set came from Ireland, direct. So, you know, they get Dublin coddle, random red hairs, and a little of my hair texture.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing to behold in a child, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really is. And so like Dr. Washington, I mean, I know a little bit about your background, but can you tell us what is it about what you feel that you have in your background that makes your role as diversity board leader a great fit for you?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about my family, but then also some of my background. So I actually, I'm in education now, but I actually started my career working for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I was a federal law enforcement officer working with a diverse inmate population. And then I was the affirmative action program manager, which was several weeks of training on diversity, working with people from different backgrounds, kind of understanding different cultures. That was a great experience. I enjoyed being part of that. And then when I made the switch over to education, there's been several classes that I have done on diversity while I worked on my doctorate. But of course, then with my family, I am multiracial. And my family's very diverse. I actually have 8 children in my family. I'm from California. My husband's from Mississippi, but within our family, we have adopted. So we have multiple races in my family with my children. Also, some of my children have special needs. So I feel like I learn a lot about diversity even in my own home, and so sharing some of those experiences. I love that my children are growing up with brothers and sisters of different races, and having that experience, I think, definitely helps me in my role. Of course, I always learn something new every day, and I love that. Yeah. And it's an ongoing process, but that's kind of what led me to this.
Well, I think that it's great. It's great to hear about the backgrounds and to know like that, that's a part of it, as you had mentioned, Adriene. It's everything, it's everything and then everything and then everything, it's not even like an and some. It's just so inclusive because every part, like from your upbringing to, the financial status to your health status, like all of that matters and is important, and it's a part of that diverse aspect. So, and you know what, mentioning the kids and with regard to the schooling aspect, Dr. Washington, I was so impressed by the students here in the Waynesville R6 school district. What some of our community members may not know is there was a diversity forum. Of course, during COVID, it was limited seats available for those to come because, it's COVID. However, I was lucky enough to be an audience member in there and to watch and see and truly hear these youth get up and discuss what diversity means to them. And let me tell you, it was just so impactful. It was so powerful. And I'd love to hear more from you, Dr. Washington, on that, because you definitely involve students greatly, you know, and our military community, as we all know, is just extremely diverse. So I'd love to hear more about, you know, the impacts and stuff that you have seen regarding the student mental health, their socialization, as it relates to diversity, and even talk about that impact of the diversity forum.
Yes, and we've seen great gains in this area. We actually did 2 diversity forums this year. We did one in the fall. We started off really small. It was a very intimate setting. Just a few high school students sitting around a table and talking about their experiences with diversity and sharing with one another, along with some staff members. And when it was done, the students were like, it felt so good to share about, you know, different experiences I've had, and using those to help others who may be going through similar situations. So they're like, let's do it again. And we kind of call them our Tiger Tough Talks, because we're the Tigers here in Waynesville. And so in the spring, we did at a bigger scale, we did another diversity forum at our high school. And this time we had high school students speak, and we also had middle school students speak. And we were limited on the audience, but I was so glad that Ty was able to come. And it was just so powerful. I had tears in my eyes, because each student got up there and shared different experiences they've had with diversity, whether it be racial diversity or social economic status diversity, or we had a student who has Down syndrome and spoke about challenges she's had, being a student with Down syndrome. And then her sister spoke as well and talked about, the rewards and challenges she's had. And, they went up there in front of everybody and spoke about those experiences and those challenges, and then ways to use that and help others, and how they've helped other students, go through some of those experiences. And that's definitely something that we're going to continue to do, and even down to some of the lower grades. Like I said, we started high school, we brought in middle school, and we'd like to kind of continue that, because it was a great platform for students to open up and really feel comfortable to share about those experiences.
It really was a beautiful, beautiful just experience. And it just really kind of makes me want to let everyone know, talk to your kids, listen to the students, listen to our youth, because they are experiencing and feeling and going through a lot, and they have strength. There's just a true resilience about it. And I just think that it's absolutely, absolutely wonderful. And for any of this members watching, maybe, I know Waynesville R6 School District is doing a lot here in the community, but if you're interested in having your school participate or do more diversity projects, definitely, reach out to me. I'll get you connected, and we'll see how we can all collaborate to kind of strengthen the military community, strengthen your community, right? Because it's just so important. And it was such a beautiful experience. And you're right about crying. I don't think anyone was in there like, we were all like,
I don't think there were any dry eyes in the audience. It was, and I forgot. And then staff also presented about their stories, which was great for the students, because they could see, hey, sometimes I think, these adults may not have went through situations, and it made them more relatable, because like they've been through some experiences as well.
Right.
How amazing that even at that age, the wisdom that they have and the experiences that they have and their ability to vocalize those just explains a level of maturity. I mean, that's astounding.
It was yes, I was so proud of them. I don't know, when I was in middle school, if I could have went up there and shared like they did. So we were very, very proud of all of them.
It was a proud moment. So, and I know we'll have many, many more. So as we all collectively continue to advance and do what we can to put the events out there and to put these programs out there, I think that it is just going to continue to grow, and we'll see and hear so many more empowering stories. So I just love it. So let's talk about something that, you'd like all humans to consider in terms of diversity. So.
It's just a natural human need and desire to be surrounded by a variety of individuals, from diverse backgrounds. And we know that when you socialize with like-minded individuals, you go unchallenged. Right. And your way of thinking stagnates and progress stops. And so, our history in the current world's intercontinental connectedness is a prime example of this. None of it would be possible if we did not need diversity. And so, I just, for each person, just remind yourself daily how important, diversity is, and how much it makes up the life that you live, and keep striving for it.
Absolutely. Dr. Washington, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with all of that. When we first started some of our initiatives, I think, some people heard diversity training and might have thought a little negatively about that, going, oh, what's this? Are they going to make me feel bad for who I am or what I think? And we tell them from day one, it's not about making anyone feel bad. We want to educate you about diversity in different cultures and have that, understanding, because, we want all of our students to feel included and valued. And so, it really started with all of our staff understanding about, those unconscious implicit biases and how those might impact, explicit actions, and having more insight, and then learning about different cultures and people's different experiences. And that's, helping them then work with our students and interacting with them, and letting our staff know, diversity training isn't, okay, I went to diversity training, I'll check that box. Right. This is an ongoing process. We're all learning, as things change, we're learning about, new and better ways to train our staff and students. And our goal, for next year is to look at every classroom in our district and make sure that it's an equitable and inclusive classroom. So part of this 2-year program is doing that. And actually, what is equity and what does inclusion look like? And how can we make sure our classrooms, are equitable and inclusive? So really, that's what I want to be considered. And I'm very excited about this journey and the direction that Waynesville Schools is going, and the importance that we have on diversity.
I'm very thankful as well. I just think that it's a collective effort. Like, we're all here together. We're all trying to make sure that we're all doing our best to ensure that everybody feels welcome, that everybody knows that they belong, and that everybody plays a part. And I think it's important to see that no matter how small, it's still an important part, even for our kids. So I'm so grateful for both of you for being my guests. Shawn, you've been listening in. What are your thoughts? I know Natasha is here. I think maybe there might be a little technical difficulties, so she's popping on and off, but we'll see if we can get her perspective. But I'd love to start with you.
First of all, yes, she's having some technical difficulties. Her internet connection keeps going in and out. Second, so as I sit here and listen to the three of you, one of the things that I think about in regard to caregivers on the home front and us serving those family members who are taking care of our wounded and ill veterans and service members, caregivers come from all walks of life, and they can be any person. And a lot of times we think that's only a spouse. So we can absolutely get caught in this presenting to who we believe a caregiver is, and that may just be, in our minds, a spouse, where in fact, their spouses, their parents, their brothers, their sisters, their adult children, their small children, and they come from just such rich, different backgrounds. Then you factor in what we hear in the military culture, the population, post 9/11, pre 9/11,
Right.
which divides many, many caregivers because of the programs that are out there. So when I think of this coming from an organizational standpoint and making sure we are supporting the diversity and inclusion of who we are serving, that's what we've had to think about. So when we put together our programs and we bring caregivers in, making sure our presenters know, making sure that we know that in our audience, it's not all spouses.
Right.
It's a parent. And they have, between a spouse and a parent who's caring for someone, those are very different experiences.
Right.
And we need to make sure that our presenters know. And I will be quite honest and frank with you, that was something that I learned, unfortunately, the hard way. That's why I think it's so important that you brought up, it's continuous. You're always learning, and you've got to be open to seeing these things and making sure you're making changes. I know Tai and I have talked about, our organization serves all eras of military and veteran caregivers, although our pictures on social media may not look like that.
Right.
So if we're serving this pre-9/11 caregiver community, we need to make sure that our pictures are looking like we serve the pre-9/11 community. It's a harder community to reach, but that was one of the foundations of why we started Caregivers on the Homefront.
Right.
We wanted to include all eras. So as much as that's a little bit a different twist to diversity and inclusion, it's still all about inclusion. And it's still all about making sure we know our veterans may have some different disabilities where we have to make sure that we are making sure our programs are including of those disabilities. What about our caregivers?
Right.
Can they all go up steps? Can they all go on a mindfulness walk? So just kind of giving a different twist of what diversity inclusion is, but from an organizational standpoint, that's absolutely some of the things that you have to think about. I love the military population. I think it's been such a wonderful experience for my older children. When I have an ex that was in the military, I always said, gosh, from someone who grew up in a very small town and did not have diversity and inclusion in that town, I was so blessed to be able to be with someone who was in the military, to meet all different types of people that did not look like me, that did not come from a background that I had. And then my kids.
Right.
My kids could see so much more. And I think that's what I love about the military community. Dr. Washington, you brought up a previous career that you had. I was a police officer for 15 years. So diversity and inclusion was in the academy. It was in our training. And absolutely, I needed it coming from a small town, a white girl, and I did not know what I didn't know.
Right.
And I think that's key to being very open and realizing you don't know what you don't know, and you need to open your eyes and get that training. Always learn. There's so many different cultures out there.
Yeah.
It's just so important.
It really is important to continue learning, and you're right. You said a couple things, and it made me think. Yes, you talked about representation, and that is absolutely everything. I was really, really excited, to see, oh my gosh, there's more faces that look like me in Blue Star families. Like that was still a huge thing. I mean, and in terms of, children with books and being able to see, that people look like them and that they can relate to that. It's so important to see that within our community, to include, as you said, Shawn, as far as making sure like our imagery, is showing that, is showcasing that. That's what I'm really happy too, as far as those hashtag You Belong BSF signs that we're going to kind of have coming out for Blue Star Welcome Week upcoming. But it's also important too to make sure that that your voice is important, right? So even though you may not see those things reflected, voice that it's affecting you. And one way to voice that, you guys know it was coming, but is to take that survey. So make sure that you're taking the Blue Star family, our annual military family lifestyle survey. You've got to take that survey. We're going to drop that link in the comments so that you just click on that. But really, it just kind of goes back to making sure that your voice is heard, because everybody's story is different, and Shawn, you talked about spouses, but even as spouses, they're not all women. We have men spouses, that the service member is a female. Like, so there's all of these different things, and all of that, it's all important. It's really, really all important. So definitely make sure you take that survey, and just valid points. Adriene, Dr. Washington, anything to add?
I want to piggyback off of what Shawn said and a little bit off of what Dr. Washington said, and kind of like a call to action, challenge yourself. I recently watched a great TED Talk by Jodi Ann Burry, where she explored the notion of bringing your full authentic self to work. But the overall application is universal in everyday life. And I recommend first, watching the talk. But one of the most staggering ideas that I think we often forget is where that change that allows people to be their authentic self comes from. Opens the door for caregivers of different generations, or, EFMP families. We want to invite people from diverse backgrounds to the table to talk, but can they truly come as they are? Right. Can they come to the events as they are? Or do they feel like they have to hold back? Where does that opportunity originate from? Who helps them feel comfortable to be themselves? And Jodi Ann explains that it starts with the person whose table it is. Who organized the party of the event? Who leads the community, the charge, the neighborhood, the PTO, the Little League team? Those are just examples. And that person or those persons are responsible for an inviting and welcoming atmosphere where diversity can thrive. And so we can't expect people of color, different origins, different cultures, ethnicities, LGBTQ, to feel comfortable being themselves if we haven't set the right tone and environment for them to be. So maybe that's you. It's definitely Tai who organized this talk, or maybe it's, maybe you head up your daughter's Girl Scouts troop. Have you set the right environment? And ask yourself that each day, and strive to do that everything you do, because it's important, and it's where it starts.
Absolutely. Yes. Like I'll cheers to that. Drink to that. That was really good. Love that, Adriene. Dr. Washington, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. And I know we talked about the diversity forum, but when we talked to the students before, I think some of the adults are even more hesitant, but the students were ready. They were ready to share their stories and their experiences. And even now, when we're doing the lessons of diversity and inclusion in the classrooms, some of the students, they're like, we're ready, to get even deeper in these conversations. And that's when some of the teachers, they're like, well, we're not quite there yet. So I'm like, okay, I've got to work on teacher training so they're ready and comfortable. So then the students feel comfortable going even deeper in those conversations and being their authentic self. So that's why it's like, the training can't just be for a select group in our district. It has to, like I said, be from, our superintendent all the way down to all of our custodians in the building. So we do have that environment where students feel like they can be their true authentic self, no matter, who they are. And that's, like I said, and that it's baby steps, but we're taking those steps, to have that fully inclusive, equitable environment. And that's definitely our goal.
It's definitely a great goal. It's definitely a great goal. I think it's just important. It's just so important. And again, that's why I'm so happy that we have organizations, we have school districts, we have community leaders that are like, we need to talk about this. We need to, kind of have it's not necessarily that's a difficult conversation. I think it's just sometimes it's an uncomfortable conversation. And so how do we process and deal with that discomfort while truly being honest and authentic and our true selves and being able to really listen and make sure that we're heard and that other people that we have around are heard. So all of this is just, I'm so thankful for you all for joining. Natasha, I see that you're on right now. We're going to see if you're able to kind of come in and chime in if there's anything that you'd like to add. I want to make sure I leave an opportunity for you. Can you hear me? I see you're on mute. You'd have to unmute. Let's see. Uh-oh. Okay, we'll try and come back. I'm just technical difficulties. You guys all know it's some technology is like great, until it isn't, right? So because it's like, trying to figure it all out. But I want to go back, Dr. Washington or even Adriene. Is there any question that, or anything that we didn't bring up yet that you want to make sure that this is important that our community knows this?
I think that we covered quite a bit. I think just making sure the community knows the importance that we feel that every single student feels like they belong here in this district, and starting that from day one or before they even enroll, with our community. And like we said, the signs of belonging and getting that information out to parents. I think we are very fortunate to be a very diverse school district, and just letting people know. I think sometimes parents may not know we're doing any of these initiatives, and that's why I think it's important next school year that we bring parents in and talk to them about what we're doing and the initiatives that we have and get their input from their experiences on, how can we make things even better. So just that communication piece.
Absolutely. So, and for those of you that are new to the area, because we know it's kind of like PCS season. It's so weird because to those of you that have been traveling during COVID and you're having to move and figure all this out, I'm sending you all the strength because I know it's challenging in itself to kind of PCS and to move. But during such a challenging time, a new time with new challenges, it's all the more. So if you are new to the Waynesville R6 school district area, check out the Facebook page, check out the website. So you just go to waynesville.k12.mo.us. You want to click on that and just kind of follow around. Go just scroll through. You'll find out all kinds of information on there, as well as, like I mentioned, on the Facebook page, but we'll link that as well. So make sure that you are getting in touch with your school liaison officers, that you're getting in touch with just, the organization. There's a PTA, a PTO. When I first got here to Missouri, and you guys know we're rural. We're so rural here. When I first got here, I was like, okay, where are the people? Like, where are the humans at? Do I go to Walmart to meet someone? Like, I don't know where to go to meet and connect. But volunteering really helped me make those connections and helped me find my people that wanted to support and strengthen the community as well. So definitely get connected. Adriene, is there anything that you'd like to add? Anything that we didn't mention?
Tai, you just hit the nail on the head with that comment. So many locations, especially Army posts, are rural, or they're not really close to major cities, and so it can feel really difficult when you land in those spots, especially in a COVID environment, to feel interconnected. But volunteerism, I know we always say, spouses and so forth always work for free, right? But it really, if you're looking for a way to meet people, to get involved, to connect with people from similar and diverse backgrounds, myself here where we are in New York is kind of isolated. I know that sounds strange for New York, but we're on a mountain. And so that became the best way for me to connect, to meet members of Blue Star families, which is how, I heard about the organization. and to feel a sense of belonging where I am, which is so important. Was just to volunteer, to get my kids involved in activities, to get them volunteering, and that paves the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really does. It's so important. Shawn, do you have any updates? Any community updates?
Oh boy, we do. First of all, I thought Natasha put something really great in our chat. She said that we can help improve the mental health of children and people when we are being intentional and inclusive. And I think that is that is so true. And then coming from her and I are both licensed master social workers, and at Caregivers on the Homefront, we're all about the mental health and well-being of caregivers, and that includes the children, because many times our kids become caregivers, those little helpers. So we have a 5K coming up. It is on June 19th, and that can be in person. We're going to have it here in Kansas City, Missouri, and you can walk, run to your little heart's content virtually as well. You can still get a really cool t-shirt, and we're going to Facebook Live our activities here that morning. And what it is for, it is an awareness fundraiser that surrounds suicide prevention, and asking that question and just having that conversation with those in your household, those that you work with, the people at the grocery store, someone on the bus that you may not know, but you can see that's having a hard time. How do you start that conversation and just ask that person if they're doing okay, and making it okay to have those conversations with the people that you know, and even those that you don't know, who's sitting by you on the pew at church. And that's what's so important about our race that's coming up. Caregivers on the Homefront is expanding our mental health and wellness restorative weekends, which is a free program for military and veteran caregivers. And be on the lookout, because we may be coming to a community near you. We just had our first one in Ohio, out of state. Generally, they're right here in Kansas City, Missouri. We're going to Texas, Minnesota, maybe coming to New York, New Jersey area. Yes. We're super excited about that. We've got Michigan in the works, and just some different places like that. So if we can ever be a resource for you, social workers are great case managers. So please give us a call if you're looking for a resource. And you can reach us at Caregivers. Wow, Tai, you are on it. Caregivers-homefront.org.
And again, for those of you just kind of washing in, sometimes, I don't know, I'll put it on different shows and different podcasts, and I just listen in. So if you're listening in, don't worry, you can come back and click all of these links, because we're going to have them in the comment section for you. And like I always say, make sure that you get this information, utilize this information, and then share it. You've got to share good information. It's really, really helpful and important to share that. So a couple of updates that I have for all of you. This Friday on the 21st of May, we're having our military spouse paint night. So that is going to be a virtual event. If you haven't signed up, make sure that you sign up. For those that are within the Waynesville R6 school district area, if you're in the Fort Leonard Wood area, you will be able to collect your paint items. Those of you not within this area, you won't be able to collect your paint items. However, you can still purchase them, and then you can still join us, because it's great. Face painting by Amber Wade, Island Breeze face paint and art. She's going to kill me because it's so long and I always mess up her Island Breeze. But Island Breeze face painting, that is going to be a face. She's hosting our face paint party. Face paint. Why do I keep saying face paint? Because she does face paint. This is a virtual paint party. So make sure that you join that, military spouses. It's another fun way to connect. So those of you move into the area, join and hop onto these events. It's great. It's easy to get connected. So make sure you're doing that. And on the 23rd of May, which is Sunday, we are going to be having a military spouse tea party. Okay, you guys know I love tea and tea parties. So it's fun though. So make sure you come. We will have a special guest, comedian Nishi Excel. Have to kind of pause to say her name too. Slow down, don't get too excited, because I am super excited because she's hilarious and you guys will really love her. So I hope that you join, sign up, and register. I also want to share, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen here, because there is an upcoming Real Talk Giving Tuesday Military. They're hosting on May 20th a Real Talk. It's systemic racism with Kayla Spikes. So we have that coming up. So make sure that you follow up. Again, we'll have the links on the page so that you can sign up for that. And one more update. Let me see if I can get my screen to share. Here it is. So I want to say Happy Asian American and Pacific Islander Month to all of our viewers, all of our members. We appreciate you, we honor you, and we want to learn about your culture. So, teach us, help us, give us some good stuff, give us some pointers, help us know more about you, because you're important and you're valued, and we want to celebrate with you. So thank you all so much for joining today's Tea with Tai. I also, of course, have to say it is survey time. So making sure that you go on and you just go to bluestarfam.org and you take that survey. So, and if you're not a member of Blue Star Families, make sure that you sign up. So just go to bluestarfam.org. Click on it. You'll see the link for the survey. You'll see the join button. There's a lot of other good information on there, but you want to join, and then you want to activate your membership so you get access to those perks and all the good freebies. You guys know, I know, we all like free, and there's nothing wrong with that. So we're here to provide some free resources and free perks for you. So make sure that you sign up, you join, and please, please, please make your voice heard. Take that survey. It is going to take some time because it's very, very, we want to know all the good information. We want to know your stories. We want to know what's working, what's not working. And if you don't voice that, we cannot advocate for you. We cannot make those changes. We can't do those things. So please, please, please make sure you go to bluestarfam.org, take that survey. Connect with me if you have any questions or concerns. Send me an email at missouri@bluestarfam.org. But that's pretty much it. Thank you, ladies, so much. Thank you all for watching and tuning in. I am Tai Kimes, and I'm doing my best to tie you to your community. So thank you all. Have a great day.